Hi guys, Rameko here. I'm bringing you today my deck tech for my blue-black control for standard Innistrad. And it's a 60 card deck. I'm not going to show you the side deck because it really varies depending on where your locals is and what they play when you go there. But as you can see, I've separated the cards into the different sections of this deck. So for removal, we have 3 Doom Blades, 1 Ring Flash, 2 Black Sun Zenith, and 1 Go for the Throat. For card draw, we have 4 Forbidden Alchemy and 2 Think Twice. And for, I guess, making your opponent discard, we have 4 Despise, because it's a very creature-heavy format. And usually you're up against a lot of these decks that have heavy creatures, or creatures that are, that are like in green-white tokens and stuff like that. And you really want to get rid of their Mirror Crusaders or their Hero of Bladeholds, or depends on what you're playing, but you're often playing a creature-heavy matchup with this deck, or at least in my locals anyway. For counters, we have 4 Mana Leaks, 1 Negate, and 2 Dissipates. So the Negate is there for things like like instants and sorceries, but also Planeswalkers, and a lot of people don't see Negate coming, right? And it totally throws them off. That 1 Negate usually often kind of is a counter that counters the game in your favor. And it's just really nice to have in there, just kind of throw your opponent off, and you can start using it turn 2. Come on, that's amazing, right? As for creatures, this deck is not very creature heavy, and the only primary creatures that it uses are the 4 Snapcaster Mages to buy things back, like the Negate, the Dissipate, the Mana Leaks, sometimes even the Despises, a lot of the times the removal, and the bombs for this deck are the 2 Consecrated Sphinx and the Grave Titan. The Grave Titan is actually really good against aggro matchups. It gives you the kind of edge you need with 2 extra creatures every turn, and you're kind of in the forefront of attacking, generating 2 more creatures. By the time you have any of these 3 out, you're on the verge of winning. So let's take a look at the lands here. Lands here play a very crucial role in how this game turns out. The Nephalia Drownyard, 2 of them, and as well as the 2 Ghost Quarters, kind of change the tides of the game, whether you're playing an aggro matchup or a control matchup, but more so for a control matchup. The Nephalia Drownyard, once you have 4 lands on the field, you can start milling your opponent and literally causing their plays to be disrupted, having them missing land drops. And if you're playing against a control matchup, this is very crucial. And even against an aggro matchup, it's very crucial, because once they start missing land drops, their creatures start hitting the graveyard, their draw gets messed up, you're on the verge of controlling their game board, and that's the whole point of this game. You can thin through your deck using the 2 Think Twice as well as the 4 Forbidden Alchemies to make sure that you don't miss land drops yourself. And you're running 26 land, I believe, in here, just so you don't miss anything, because everything that you want to play is very easily costed, but in the long run you kind of want to be able to play everything and anything you want, including the ones with flashback and things that you want to flashback with Snapcaster Mage. For the land, you have 4 Darkslick Shores, 4 Drowned Catacomb, 8 Islands, and 6 Swamps. So that's, I guess, standard land base there. Most of your cards are blue, and thus, you want to kind of have a little bit of a heavier blue basic land kind of thing. But either way, you have your dual lands, and it's only like a 2-color deck, so it's very consistent in producing the land it needs. The 3 Planeswalkers, the 2 Liliana of the Veil, and the 1 Karn Liberated, are kind of your additional mid-game and end-game clinchers. So with Liliana, if you're facing another control deck, they're kind of forced to either sacrifice the only creature that they have, because they're running very few creatures as well, or start discarding at your advantage. So, you drop her on the field, and you start discarding things like Think Twice, and they have to discard something important. Or you start discarding things like your lands later on in the game, and they have to discard something important or vital to the game itself. Now, with that being said, the Karn, once it comes into game, it's almost like a Titan or Consecrated Sphinx on its own. It starts exiling things from your opponent's hand. If this is an aggro matchup, it's completely over. If it's a control matchup, they might be able to bounce back, but it's very unlikely. Once he's on the board and he resolves, I don't even know. It's just ridiculous. It's too hard to come out of this. It's really hard to come out of this unless they have an Oblivion Ring or something along those lines, or they have a negate. Because if you guys haven't noticed, just for a little bit of a beginner's tip, you know, counter target non-creature spell. So for something like this, your opponent is not probably doesn't have a negate, you know, because they're not expecting you to have a Karn Liberated in your deck, and you're able to hit 7 mana really easily. And if your opponent is trying the same shenanigans, even if you've negated once already, you can use your Snapcaster, bring that negate back, use it again, and boom, go straight to victory. Use that Dissipate. I don't even know. In Mana Leak Wars, in the counter war kind of game, the negate proves really useful because, you know, they're like Mana Leak, you're like Mana Leak. They're like Dissipate, you're like, I don't know, like Mana Leak again. I don't know, they throw down their Dissipate, another one, and then boom, you're like negate. The whole chain comes unraveling, and ta-da, you win. And it usually proves to be a very good card. But in multiples of, you don't want to draw too many negates, you know. But otherwise, it's a very good card. The Ghost Quarters, finally, are for things like Wolf Run Ramp, where you see cards like Inkmoth Nexus or Kasig Wolf Run, and you really need to get rid of that card ASAP. So, yeah, that's pretty much why it's there for. Or maybe if your opponent has another, you know, land that you're really sick and tired of seeing and you wish they didn't have, and you just want to get rid of it. But that's pretty much it, you know. The cards kind of, you know, speak for themselves, and it's a very standard kind of deck. So thanks again, guys. I appreciate the views. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm kind of back at the time being. Sorry for the hiatus. Back on that Magic the Gathering. So let me know if you have any questions. My trade binder is also up. Thanks again, and I appreciate the views. Take care, guys.